Oh, Adam, what's the point in our care homes being featured in the local newspapers and the local media? Because no one reads newspapers anymore, and it's like a diminishing value to us. And why do it? That's what a care provider said to me, the MD of a care provider. And you know what? She has a good point, because the local press is a diminishing sector, a diminishing industry. People read newspapers less. It's gone out. It's more likely to be online that people source their news, and people do not read as much newspapers, or get in particular newspapers, as they did previously. However, there are a number of points I would like to make here. Firstly, is yes, the local newspapers themselves may be a diminishing outlet in terms of numbers. However, they are still read by tens of thousands of people within a certain catchment area. And when you're thinking of you as a care home, a care provider, where can you reach via the press tens of thousands of people? The local media still holds value, a certain amount of value. And also remember, the local press is the most trusted press in the UK compared to the nationals. People trust their regional, local media more than national media, and that is something you can use as a care provider in your favor. The second aspect is, of course, we're not only talking about the printed newspapers, we're also talking about radio and television, particularly BBC and ITV, and those still have reaches of 50,000, 100,000, sometimes 250,000 plus. So the numbers are still high. And then also what is important to remember is that there are only certain places where you can get journalists writing or broadcasting independently about your care provider, your care homes. And that's what the press is all about. And that includes the online media outlets. And I'll come to that in a moment. But the truth of the matter is, any one of us can place an advert, but there's only a certain outlets, and those are the media outlets, where journalists write about your care homes, write your good news stories about your care homes. So that's another important value to consider. Now, another important variable to consider is that the media outlets have a high domain authority under Google. That means because families increasingly are discerning, and if they do a search under your care home, they may not only do a search under generic Google organic, they are also going to do, quite likely, I certainly would, and you probably would, a search under Google News to find out what the press have been writing about your care homes. And to get that media coverage, that press coverage, is the only way to get rankings on Google News outlets. And that's another reason why, if you value promoting the quality of your care and your staff and you as a care home, and you want journalists to be writing those good news stories about you, then the Google News high domain authority ranking is an asset and a value that you can get from press coverage. Now, the other aspect, of course, is stories. If you want to be promoting the good news stories about your care homes at any single point in time, you have to be thinking where, and you want to do this because you want to amplify the word of mouth reputation of your care homes, then the press is the outlet for those stories. And the press, the journalists, regional press, I've said this many times, I love good news stories from care homes. And it's the press who cover those good news stories. So that's a vital outlet for you, and remains a vital outlet for you when you are promoting your homes in front of ideally prospective families via good news stories. Another important aspect here is that the truth of the matter is that whereas a good news story in the press may be seen and noticed by maybe, tens of thousands if it's a local newspaper outlet, outlet, or again, or 100,000 plus if it's a local television news outlet, those good news stories can also be shared and distributed via Facebook. Not organic, it has to be done via Facebook boosts. And in this way, you are able to reach an additional 20,000 plus of people in the catchment areas of your homes. So that's within a 20-30 mile radius of your homes. And there are various strategies you need to do to make sure those boosts of those good news stories get maximum results and output in terms of numbers, in terms of engagement. And it's not necessarily just a standard everyday post that can start to get those really big numbers, particularly around engagement and likes and comments and sharing and those important metrics. It actually revolves around you having a really, really good story. Those make a real difference. And the beauty of thinking about those good news stories, of not only getting the press coverage with all the online value and the Google News value and the journalistic editorial journalists writing about your care home value, you are also going to get those digital eyeballs or eyeballs via those digital platform of Facebook to reach those big numbers. So effectively, any one, let's call it a PR deliverable for your home or one story, you should be reaching 50-60,000 people with that story to help amplify the word of mouth reputation. And again, if you are doing that maybe once every 2 months or once every 6 weeks, those numbers start to get very considerable. And they will certainly be a lot larger than many of your what you may consider your competitor homes in your area. So final point I would like to make is that the great question is like, well, how else can I reach these numbers of people, prospective families in the target areas of my care homes? Ideally, I guess self-funding families, people will help amplify the word of mouth reputation and ultimately drive more interest and knowledge of your care home and ultimately more inquiries. Because if you're not using these press and online and Facebook mechanisms to reach those huge numbers, what are the other options? Well, leaflet drops are an option. Leaflet drops remain an option. And I know of many care providers who tell me of the value that they get from doing leaflet drops. But then how many leaflet drops can you do in any single year, let's say? And also, what's going to be the content within those leaflet drops? Everyone knows a leaflet drop is an ad. Sure, you can have a great news story in that leaflet drop. The point of leaflet drops is that I do have care providers telling me the value that they get from leaflet drops. But again, the question is, how often can you do them? I mean, if I came into your care homes right now, I would probably find 2 great stories straight off the cuff, and we can get those done within 2 weeks, or you could get those done and broadcast and distributed to the media on the Facebook within 2 weeks. It's slightly more of a quick fire, a repeatable mechanism, I would suggest, than leaflet drops. And just going back to the Facebook targeting versus leaflet drops, is with Facebook targeting, you can target by age as well. I mean, you can't necessarily do that by leaflet drops, but you can target by age on Facebook boosts. So that means you will be sharing the good news about your care homes to people aged 45 plus within your catchment area, ideally sons and daughters of families who may be needing and thinking about a care home or a case care service. So I hope that you found that useful, and please make sure you like and subscribe to this channel to make sure you don't miss any more videos like it.